But right now, it is my privilege to introduce the United States Representative Jennifer McClellan of Virginia's 4th District. She joined the U.S. Congress in 2023 and was reelected in 2024. She's a lifelong Virginia native. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Richmond and a JD from the University of Virginia School of Law. She served the greater Richmond area in elected office for 20 years, first in the House of Delegates and then into the Senate, and now in Congress. She sits on the House Energy and Commerce Committee and on, count them, 17 progressive caucuses. So we look forward to hearing from you and how important this 2026 races are going to be and what's happening in Washington and about the possibility of this moment, how important it will be to elect these 4 candidates to win in 2025 and then building the capacity to get a congressional win in 2026. So Congresswoman McClellan, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, and I apologize for being a little bit late, but we had votes tonight, and then I had to contend with 395 traffic. So, you know, you do what you got to do. But I did not want to miss this important conversation and sort of connect the dots between the work that I'm doing in Washington and the work that Mary, Cheryl, Cat, and Liz need to be doing in the General Assembly with Governor Abigail Spanberger, Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi, and Attorney General Jay Jones. So first, you know, it's bad out there, y'all. It's bad out there, and we know that on a number of fronts. It's been chaos for the last 9 months. It's been chaos from a policy perspective on all of the policies we care about. It's been chaos on the economic front as the cost of everything continues to go up, whether it's because of Trump's tariffs or the big ugly bill that passed that basically transferred federal investment from the bottom 10% of earners to the top 10%, whether it is the chaos of the job market as Virginia is hit particularly hard with all of the cuts to the federal workforce and basically the effort of the Trump administration to put our federal workers, many of whom are Virginians, in trauma. We are facing yet again political violence and threats and anger, and it almost seems like it more than seems like it feels like, and perhaps we wonder and we worry, is our very country coming apart at the seams? Now I wanna start, y'all know I'm the history nerd, right? So I gotta root everything that I do in history. And today's an important day in American history. Today's Constitution Day. Today is the day that the delegates to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia signed the U.S. Constitution that created a government by, of, and for the people. And when he left the Independence Hall, Benjamin Franklin was asked, "What have you wrought? A republic or a monarchy?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And he reflected on the chair behind George Washington that had a picture that he wasn't sure engraved in it. Was it a sunrise or a sunset? And he believed it was a sunrise. And there are times in American history, and right now is one of them, where it feels like maybe it's a sunset. But the idea of a government by, of, and for the people, the idea that the power of government derives from the people, not from a monarch, not from victory on the battlefield, but from the people. We each have a decision to make every single day. Are we going to participate in that government by, of, and for the people? Because what that means, and I'm Gen X, so I grew up watching Schoolhouse Rock, where they read the preamble. What a government by, of, and for the people means, government will reflect the perspective of and therefore meet the needs of the people who participate. And sometimes it's ugly, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's depressing, and sometimes you feel like it's an uphill battle. But we each have the power to decide next year, are we going to celebrate the 250th 250th anniversary of that idea of power being derived from the people, or are we going to mourn its loss and mourn the fact that we couldn't keep a republic? That's what's at stake every election day. And that's why in Virginia, we say this is the most important election of your life, because every single one is the most important election of our lives, because we get to decide whose perspective will government reflect, who's the we, and how are we going to form that more perfect union that our Constitution and our form of government was meant to create. So I wanted to root everything in a little bit of big picture. And again, you've heard me talk about how the history of our country has been, how do we make those ideals upon which we were founded true for everybody? And we've made progress. And now we've got to fight to keep that progress. So when you get frustrated and you're like, my vote doesn't matter, it does. Remember, the General Assembly majority in 2017 came down to pulling somebody's name out of a bowl because that one extra person chose not to participate in a government by and for the people. And therefore, it was decided by drawing a name out of a bowl who would have the majority, and whether we had to wait, which we did, 2 more years before we could make Virginia the first state in the South to have its own Voting Rights Act, the first state in the South to proactively expand access to reproductive health and abortion rights, the first state in the South to have anti-discrimination laws that protected people in the LGBTQ community, the first state in the South to extend worker protections that everybody else takes for granted to domestic workers, the first state in the South to have 100% clean energy standard. And all that progress is at stake. And now the stakes are even higher because of all the shit that's rolling downhill from Washington. And it's serious if I'm cursing. So I think it's important to understand just how critically important your role in the big picture is as voters, as people who get other people to vote, as people who knock on doors and try to persuade people who to vote for. And yes, to our candidates, they stepped up and made the ultimate decision that they were going to make the sacrifice of their family time, of their, work time, and put their name on the ballot and put themselves in a position of trust to reflect your perspective. And so that's why they need our support. So what's, policy-wise, what's at stake? From the big ugly law that come January 2026, the General Assembly is going to have to decide how do we fill these holes in our budget that have been caused by Medicaid cuts or cuts to other federal funding or the reduced income coming into the state coffers because so many people are unemployed. This September, in less than 2 weeks, there are a whole lot of people who have been paid through the end of September who are going to come off of the rolls and come onto the unemployment line because of what's happening at the federal government. And the General Assembly is going to decide, are we going to be a state that stands up for all Virginians against the tyranny that's coming out of the Trump administration? Are we going to stand up for all Virginians against a Congress that bows down and fails to do its job in checking this president? Are we going to have a government, a governor who puts our priorities first and fights for us? Are we going to have an attorney general who actually sues on our behalf to protect us? Are we going to have a lieutenant governor that breaks ties in a way that focuses on helping people and solving problems? And are we going to put these 4 amazing women in offices where their perspective matters? And their perspective, it's not just about getting a majority, because we want to expand our majority. It's about making sure that the General Assembly reflects the full diversity of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And oh, by the way, the population is 51% women. We need more women in the General Assembly. And we need women who understand what their constituents are facing every single day. So you play that role. And I'm going to say, put your own mask on first. And if that means that you got to put the phone down and take a break, and maybe when that phone call comes, you say, you know what, I need a break today. But then remember, tomorrow is one more day when early voting starts. And the next day is another day closer to election day. And that's a day where you could be knocking on doors or getting people out to vote or donating more money to these fantastic candidates to make sure they have the resources they need to get across the finish line. Because too much is at stake for us to decide, you know what, I'm too frustrated, I'm giving up. We have a republic if we keep it. And that republic did not always reflect us. But we have the opportunity to make sure that it does today by electing these four amazing women and electing Governor Abigail Spanberger, Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi, and Attorney General Jay Jones.
Thank you very much, Representative McClellan. I mean, you have been very inspiring to us, but you also told us exactly how it is. And we appreciate that every single day you're out there working to save democracy. And we appreciate that. And we're happy that you joined us.